So usually, when you've completed the building inspections, health, fire, safety, that's about the time when you want to get the...
So can a program supervisor be part of the ratio in the daycare program? This is dependent on a couple of factors. So if your program requires less than 7 staff based on the licensed capacity, then the program supervisor can be in ratio. If the program will require more than 7 staff, then the program supervisor can only be in ratio sort of in acceptable circumstances. So there's specific times, transition times, in the case of a staff having to be away to cover a break or someone going to the bathroom. So it would be expected that the program supervisor would not be in ratio all the time, but they could be in ratio on occasion.
And I just want to
add, that answers your question. I hope. On the program supervisor.
When you have 7 or more staff
that with regards to getting a copy of this PowerPoint, my Linda, do we give out the PowerPoint? I don't think so, but we do give the links.
The links are provided in the certificate. We do not hand out links in presentation.
We'll be required to provide a detailed program plan to the parents or the parents' handbook, which is a compressed version of the program plan enough. So there's no requirement to share a copy of the program plan with parents. It is recommended that parents are aware of the program plan and potentially that they would have access to it. If they were interested, your parent handbook will likely have similar information. So it would kind of be up to the program how they would like to share that with parents. If we are to use a residential house for a daycare, does the same requirement for floor space apply, or are there any other restrictions? So with regards to licensing, yes, the same requirements for floor space would apply. Your rooms would be measured the same way that they would be measured in any other structure. The requirements for the amount of floor space would be the same. Depending on the size of the rooms that you'd like to be using, there might be some discussions around age groups, and then also things like bathrooming. If you're using a residential house, how are staff going to have access and children have access to bathrooming, hand washing? Those questions would likely be addressed by your health inspector before you get health approval. As for any other restrictions, there may be things to consider from your local municipality. But for us at licensing, we would be expecting the same things we would for any other facility-based program. So a question about the program plan template. Can we get some draft or guidance plan for preparing yours? So along with the program plan template, we do have a reflection document that sort of asks some questions that you can consider when writing the different sections. Then once you sort of have that first program plan completed, It'd be submitted to Child Care Connect along with your other application documents. And that would be reviewed with the licensing officer you would be assigned, and you would work together to kind of fill in any gaps, or if they had any questions, if you were looking for specific additional resources on a topic, they would potentially be able to help you and give you some guidance on that. So we don't have like sort of a guide for what a program plan might look like. Part of that is because each one is very unique to the specific program, but we will support through the process. Next question. Does a license holder have to be present during AHS evaluation, or can someone else be there as a license holder representative? That would be a great question for your health inspector. They would better be able to answer that for you. So I would suggest contacting them, and when you're setting up your inspection, ask them what their preference would be. We are in BC. Would our BC criminal record check be sufficient, or would we need to get an RCMP local police in Alberta record check?
No, BC is acceptable.
So I guess the question more specific around that might be if, because you can only get your criminal record check where you are currently residing. So let's say if you were going to be a license holder who was residing in BC, but you were owning a program in Alberta, you would only be able to have a criminal record check from BC. So that might be where you're going to live as a license holder. If you are living in Alberta and owning a program in Alberta, then we would want a local from Alberta criminal record check. Does play area have to be separated for every age group? So I'm not entirely sure what you're asking. If this is this a question around like mixed age groups? Programs can have like a mixed age grouping. That would be something that would be set out in your program plan. You'd have to detail the ages that would be mixed and how the needs of those varying age groups would be met. You'd also need to have appropriate age and developmentally appropriate toys and equipment for all the ages that would be in that room. Also, that would not include infants unless you had requested an exemption. During 8:30 to 4:30, infants cannot be mixed with other age groups. Oh, okay.
Madam Mohan, do you want to explain your question, or did we miss answering it?
Yeah, so I was actually talking about outdoor behavior.
Here.
Just 1 minute.
We're trying to make it one big area. My question is that whether we have to put a fence inside the play area to separate, let's say, infants with the preschoolers, or we can have one big play area and do not separate physically, but otherwise teacher would take care of one group on one side of the play area and other in the play area. Hello?
Andy, we can't hear you. You're muted.
So I think you're speaking maybe to the size of the outdoor play space, is that correct? So it does have to have 50% of your licensed capacity. And that is the requirement that we follow. Is that correct, Madam Mahan?
No, I'm aware of the size, but what I'm trying to say is this, let's say we have 100 kids in the program, and then there's one big area, let's say if it's a 3,500 square, 50,000 square, whatever it's required, we have that. Yeah. But my question is whether we need to physically separate the play area for each age group. Like, for example, this is an infant's play area, outdoor play area, and this is